they released an extended gameplay reveal of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and I have some thoughts about it. So first up, I'm going to say the few things that I like about it, so we can get that out of the way real quick. First up, it's pre-alpha or post-alpha, whatever that means. That's what the trailer says. I like the aesthetic. I like the graphics. I don't think the graphics look insanely amazing, but as far as like a sequel to the first game, I think they're okay. Like if a sequel released looking like this, you know, even though it's 2024, it's literally been 20 years since the first game, I would be okay with it, you know, as long as it was like a true sequel and had all the mechanics of the first game, but just like better. These types of graphics to me would be perfectly fine. Like the lighting, the design of like the sets, like that would be fine to me, you know? It doesn't have to look like Cyberpunk 2077. It doesn't have to be insanely over budgeted or whatever. Like it could look like this and I'd be fine, you know? The animations are a little stiff. The combat looks like they kind of have the right idea, at least for the hand-to-hand combat. They haven't really shown anything besides that. They haven't shown like guns. At least I don't think they have. So I don't know how the guns look. But for the most part, I think the combat is off to the right start. Some of the animations look really stiff, but it does say it's post-alpha, so that's something they could polish up. And that's pretty much it. That's like the only things that I like, or at least I'm okay with. Now we're gonna get into the rest of, you know, this reveal. So first up, since we just talked about animations, the facial animations are fucking horrible. They look like dog shit, and it's insane that this is a game that is literally a sequel to a 20-year-old game, and the 20-year-old game, the first game, the original Bloodlines, has better facial animations than this shit. Like, what the fuck? Why do they look so bad? Like, I understand it's post-alpha, but considering how important dialogue, right, and talking to people is supposed to be in this type of game, especially in the first game, right? And if this is a sequel to the first game, it's probably, or at least it's supposed to be, as important, if not more important, which is talking to people and their facial animations. So I can understand like walking animations and like combat, that looking a little stiff, but why the fuck do the facial animations look so bad? Like that should be a main, you know, allocation for your resources and your time, is that, because it's so important. But I mean, I guess we don't have to worry so much about the facial animations looking bad, because the dialogue looks like it's just gonna suck ass. In the first game, you have a dialogue tree. And when you talk to people, it's like in real time, kind of. In this game, it's like a cutscene. It's like a cinematic cutscene, and you get an options wheel, where it looks like at the most, you will have up to 4 options in dialogue, which is basically like Fallout 4 and a bunch of other RPGs. And, oh yeah, why do they have a voice protagonist? Why do they have a voice protagonist? Why do they have a voice protagonist? Why do they have a voiced protagonist? Why in this game did they think it was a good idea to put a voiced protagonist as the character you play? Who the fuck thought of that? That is literally the most tone-deaf decision out of everything that I've seen about this game. The voice protagonist is the dumbest shit I've seen. Like, this is not The Witcher. This is not Cyberpunk. You know, this is a sequel to a game that had a silent protagonist for a multitude of reasons, because the game gives you a bunch of different builds that you can do. You can roleplay as a ton of different people. I don't care if you can be a good vampire or bad vampire, good decision, bad decision. A voice protagonist is going to seriously take away from the charm and the aesthetic that the original had. You know, the immersion is going to be half-assed now. It's It's the dumbest decision, and nobody likes this. Nobody. I haven't seen a single person that's played the original game that is actually excited for this after seeing this reveal. The only people I've seen that like this shit are people on Reddit who admit they've never played the first game. Like, dead ass. They've never played the original, and they're like, I've never played the first game, but this looks okay, give it a shot. That's what they say. And it's crazy that they say that, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a diehard World of Darkness fan, and that, you know, I grew up playing the games, and, you know, I'm a day one Masquerade fan. No, I played Bloodlines for the first time like 2 years ago on this channel. From start to finish, I played the entire game, and it was amazing. The game was like, what at that point, like 17, 18 years old? And it was still one of the best RPG experiences I've had in a fucking long time. Long time. So why don't you make that? Why don't you make that sequel? What is this? This should not be called Bloodlines 2. You know, a lot of Vampire Masquerade games that have come out in recent years are basically like visual novels, essentially. And they have a voice protagonist. They have like a dialogue wheel, right? Where you have basic choices, and it's, you know, it's kind of like good choice, bad choice type shit. That's fine for those games. Those aren't Bloodline. This is Bloodline. It feels to me that the Chinese Room, which are the developers that are making this game, they don't want to actually make a sequel to Bloodlines. They want to make a different game. They just weren't given permission to do anything but a Bloodlines sequel. So that's why it's called Bloodlines 2. Or it could be for marketing reasons, so they could sell more or whatever. But this seems dumb, dude. And they're trying to give your character a background as like an elder vampire, and you have like this mark on your... I don't give a fuck about any of that shit, dude. I seriously do not give a fuck. You could have made that work, you know, because it's kind of an interesting idea. But because you have a voice protagonist, which obviously it's being heavily like implied it's supposed to be a woman, right? Let's not fucking sit here and pretend like it's not supposed to be a woman. You could probably choose to be a dude, because I think they said you have some customization. But it's obvious you're supposed to be an elder vampire that's a chick. That's like what the story is really like, the canon story and all the shit is going to be weighing on that. You know, the side, this, you know, no matter what your choice is or whatever. We're just like, what the fuck? Like, dude, if you played the first game gives you so many different options for role playing. And a part of that is the dialogue tree. You know, like the wheel is such a tone deaf choice. The voice protagonist is such a tone deaf choice. Who's making these decisions? Who is making these decisions at this company for this fucking sequel? Nobody who loves the first game wants this shit. Nobody. We want a sequel to Bloodlines. All right? This looks like a visual novel with combat. And I will say this, I didn't say this earlier, the stealth, I do like the way they're taking stealth. I think the stealth kind of reminds me of Dishonored, and I think that's a great place to take it, because Dishonored, its stealth is amazing. I love it. So I actually like that. But besides that, and you know, like it looks like a visual novel. It's like, what the fuck? It doesn't look like a Bloodlines game. And I've said that like a billion times because I'm in shock that this is what we're getting after 20 years. And like I said, I'm not a day one fan, but it's like, I still don't want this. I want the original game, but better and with better graphics. That's all I want. That's the only type of sequel I wanted. And it looks like that's what everybody else wants. So who the fuck is making these decisions? It just seems like suicide for a company. And all in all, after everything I've seen, after the dev interview and all this just looks like, at best, it's just going to be a mediocre game. You know, and I understand it's post-alpha or whatever. It just, dude, the whole concepts that you guys are going for, the whole, like, theme and the idea. It's like I'm not on board with any of it, and it looks like most people aren't either. Like, nobody wants this. We wanted a Bloodlines sequel, and instead we're getting some like fucking dumbass fucking elder vampire fucking fanfic, which has some subpar combat and extremely shitty facial animations, with trying to make all the dialogue cinematic. It's like, there were like cinematic moments in the first game, don't get me wrong, but not the dialogue, dude. The dialogue was like in real time. It wasn't supposed to look cinematic. And man, this is just so upsetting, because a true Bloodlines sequel is like exactly what RPGs need. It's exactly what the gaming industry needs right now. Like an actual sequel, you know, not whatever this is. Could you imagine if we actually got that? We just got Baldur's Gate 3 last year, which was amazing on its, you know, in its own right. But could you imagine for RPGs, we just got Baldur's Gate 3 and now we're actually getting an actual Bloodlines sequel with all the mechanics and the aesthetic that we love, just with better graphics and maybe better combat? Like, that's it, dude. Like, that has a potential to actually make money, because people don't want this fucking bullshit. They don't want this type of shit anymore in games. You know, it's so tone deaf. It's like the people who are making this game only use Internet Explorer or some shit. Like, all their stuff's so dated. Like, even Bethesda figured out, like a year or 2 years into developing Starfield, that guess what? People don't like voice protagonists. And they reverted. They took that shit out of that game. It was already like in the game, and they had written and gotten voice actors and actresses and all this shit. They took all that shit out because they were like, oh fuck, this isn't a good idea. People don't like this, you know? And it's crazy, because that's one of the things they actually did right with Starfield, was that decision, you know? But that's a whole other conversation. But it's like, why would they do this? Like, why would the Chinese Room have this type of dialogue system and have this you know, that's it. That's all I have to say, is like, it's just disappointing, and it just looks like it's gonna be mediocre at best. It looks soulless. It looks like it's trying to be something it isn't. And this could have an amazing story with amazing world building. I already don't give a shit. And that's kind of the whole point of like an RPG. You can have the greatest storyline and greatest characters and greatest world. If the immersion isn't there, what's the fucking point? And I'm not going to be able to get immersed in a game where it's really wanting you to be some fucking female bitch elder vampire. You know, it's like, I want to be able to choose. Maybe for my third or fourth playthrough, yeah, I'll do that build. But it's like, this just seems so it's just tone deaf. It's tone deaf and soulless, and it's sad, you know? It's sad, because I'll probably end up playing it, you know? I hope it looks better, but it's like, I don't care. Like, even if the combat gets better and if the animations get better, like all the small shit that I've been nitpicking on it, it's like the two main things I already hate about the game. Like, even the story, like I said, it could be amazing. The fact that it's got a voice protagonist and a dialogue wheel. Why? Like, even the people that made dialogue wheels like a thing aren't even doing that shit anymore for their RPGs. Like, I guarantee you, bro. Well, I can't guarantee you, because, you know, BioWare's been kind of shit in the bed for like a while, but I could maybe, I'll bet you like $10 they don't put a dialogue wheel in their new game. They're gonna go back to trees, because they know people don't like that shit anymore. It was cool with Mass Effect, and in that era, it was kind of cool, whatever. It's dead now. Like, nobody cares about that shit. Nobody likes that shit. Nobody wants it. And this isn't The Witcher. You know, why do we have a voice protagonist? This shouldn't be an established character that we have to play. This should be who we want to play. Who do we want to be? Which character we want to be? Which build? You know? And you just don't get it with, like, what I'm seeing. I don't I don't see it happening. I don't see it doing what the first game did, which was creating an immersive, atmospheric adventure it's the best vampires video game, you know? And it's like, this should be even better, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be that. So, you know, that's pretty much it, guys. That's all I have to really say about this so far. Like, I don't know, man. Like, what do you guys think? Do you guys have the same opinion as me? Do you completely disagree? Do you think this looks amazing? Do you think it's just, you know, because it's a post-alpha, it just looks a little rough around the edges? Do you like voice protagonists? Do you hate them? Do you like dialogue wheels? You know, we can have a conversation about this in the comments. You know, just let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy the video, you know, like, comment, and subscribe. But either way, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you guys later.